The day is December 21st, 2050, we discovered time traveling, you are allowed to go back in time, there are no rules as to what you can do, what would you do? I would go back in time to my younger self, and tell him I am him from the future. And when that little shit asks me if we ever found true love, I would yell to him, shut up motherfucker, and write down these numbers for tomorrow's fucking lottery, 11 17 25 33 49. You are welcome. Go to Stephen Hawking's party. I'd go back to ancient Egypt. Add a few random modern day things like helicopters and light bulbs to hieroglyphs. You know, just to fuck with modern archaeologists. I'd go back to first grade. And when the teacher says 0 is the lowest number, I will yell bullshit. Post a question on Reddit because I have no ideas what to do. If there are no rules as to what I can do, it means the team of scientists also discovered that you cannot alter the past no matter what the traveler tries. In this case, it is irrelevant what I do. In my case, I would just go for some sightseeing in various cities during the 19th century or at the turn of the 20th century. For example, you could go and see the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty when they were brand new. Steal all the world's great ideas and give them to younger me and my family, so when I come back, my family name will either among the likes of Rockefeller, Cook, and other wealthy family, or it won't exist cause my family self-imploded due to greed. Surprise Stephen Hawking. Tell my 18-year-old self that the girl I'm developing a crush on at that time is a lesbian, so don't bother. Admire the beauty of the Great Barrier Reef while it was beautiful. I would for sure go back and spend some time with my dad. I'd go to the coffee shop where he always went every day with his friends. I'd ask those guys if they knew of a good place to play golf, as I had a free day from my business trip. My dad would offer to have me join his group because that's just the type of person he was. I'd be old enough by then that he might think I looked like his son, but he wouldn't think it was me. I would also visit him in the day he died and say goodbye as I wasn't there. What's the meaning of Stonehenge? I go back to November 25th, 2019, boot up my computer and post the following to r/AskReddit. The day is December 21st, 2050, we discovered time traveling, you are allowed to go back in time, there are no rules as to what you can do, what would you do? Gray's Sports Almanac. Go back far enough to see a tropical Antarctica, then make a stop in the 1800s version of my home city to see how it was before it was destroyed for the first time. Then, in about the 1900s version of New York before coming back to present time with hopefully nothing changed, if that's the kind of time traveling we're dealing with. I'd go back and be a mentor to my younger self. Really needed some support back in middle school. Would you create parallel universe if you were to change major events? Recursively and exponentially accelerate the progress of technology. Bring back the information necessary to being able to store 2 terabytes on a SSD to 2 petabytes on an SSD, for example. If fusion reactors that generate more energy than is needed to initiate it has finally been discovered, bring that info back too. Bring back info on nanotechnology, such as nanoscopic robots that can search and destroy cancer cells. Also, I would also like to add, try to get the US to convert to a metric system of measurement before it got too big and too expensive to go from imperial to metric. Once that's all said and done, repeat the process. Send back the newly accelerated timeline's technology progress back in time, so that timeline is further accelerated than previously before. I'd go back to 2018 and pet my dog. He died in December 2018 and I wasn't there to say goodbye. I would go so far into the past that I wind up into a previous universe. So if there are no rules as to what I can do, I would go back in time to change the outcomes of countless points in the 20th century by being an anonymous fly on the wall in corporations and governments. I'd liken this scenario to an alternate history challenge by creating multiple points of divergence. Go back to ancient Egypt and figure out who constructed the damn pyramids and how they were built. I'd go see if Jesus really was that kind of dude. Either that or meet some of my favorite philosophers of all time. Travel to November 25th, 2019 at 9:28 a.m. to comment on this post that this is what I would do. I would go back to when Jennifer Aniston was 18 years old and she would fall in love with me and we would live happily ever after. Go to Motorhead/Dio/Pantera/Black Sabbath/Slayer concerts. I'll go to Hawking's time traveler party, seems like fun. I'd go back to fuck my wife while she was still young. Before the Big Bang. Something like what Biff did. Shoot Adam and Eve and use the snake as a pocket pussy. To all those wanting to shoot Hitler, I propose you a better solution. Go to 1914 and shot Gavrilo Princip. No First World War means no traumatized Hitler, no stabbed in the back feeling for the Germans, no hate towards the French for occupying the Rhine, and so on and so forth. Go back to when Henry Ford made a car and make sure it runs on hemp oil like he wanted. Thus preserving the environment a bit more and maybe setting a standard of doing what's right for the planet, rather than the bottom line. I would go back and watch Revenge of the Sith another 7,453 times with the new time I have. I'd go back and give 10-year-old me a big hug and let her cry. She needs it. Help start up Google. Tell Steve Harwell, the lead singer of Smash Mouth, that the world is gonna roll him. I would go back to San Francisco in 1967 at the height of the summer of love and trip balls and respond to literally everything with "Okay boomer." Go back and fuck Hitler's mom before Hitler's dad does. Then I'm gonna raise that boy right, get him into art or something creative like that. Go back to see the very first human beings and see how they managed. Save the Library of Alexandria. Then we could have had time travel back in 1965. Back to TE Origin of Religions and put some Shrek there, and that's how I would have turned Shrek into a god. Check out what was up around a time of 1 million to 2 million years ago when humans supposedly appeared. See what kind of civilizations were around and went missing. Travel 10 years back and invest into Bitcoin. If possible, I would love to see who was the original person that created such a beautiful planet, or perhaps is there ever God, if there was one. P.S. Forgive my terrible English. Find baby Thanos and ties noose around neck motion. Give Bob Ross a big hug. I'll let you know in 30 years what I decide to do. I would go back to the time of Noah's Ark and bore a big hole in his boat. Concerts. All the punk and metal shows of the 70s and 80s. Other historical stuff too, and say hi to my dad. How did Epstein die? Stopping 9/11 would certainly avoid a lot of shittiness. Get a dinosaur, a small non-violent one, and make it a house pet. I'd go back in time to November 24, 2019 and set my arrival location to a TED Talk stage. Go back to April 2001 and load up on Apple stock when it was $1. I will be 88 in 2050 and probably dead. One of you whippersnappers will have to come back in time, and give me the serum of eternal youth, which no doubt will be made public the day after I die. Go back a few years and give my 14-year-old self a large flash drive labeled homework. I went back to 25. November 2019 just to answer this post. Ask me anything about 2050. December 21, 2012. Say I'm from the Mars settlement. The end of Earth will happen at 6 p.m. You must meet at Times Square to get onto the ship at 4 p.m. Only 5,000 people are allowed to go. Then get back into my time machine and see what happened. I would stop by 1994 and slap myself and point me in the right direction. I would grab several books in real estate history, sports, etc., and drop them off to me in 1998, probably slapping myself again. Stop to see myself in 2002, hopefully not have to slap myself. Then I would visit the pyramids upon completion, stop by Table Mountain SA when the waters went to the top, England in the 1800s, Philadelphia and NYC in the 1800s, Texas and New Mexico in the 1800s, and Germany in the 1920s. I would see Stonehenge as it was used. I would want to see the earliest humans and how they acted. There are no rules, so I would have modern-day special forces as my convoy, so I should be safe in those contentious times. I would go back to April 22, 1989, make a bowl of golden grahams, sit on my old brown couch and watch Saturday morning cartoons. Find a way to make Stan Lee not die, then make sure he makes sure that none of the Og Avengers die. I first wonder why the date is so specific. I would tell everyone there's going to be NGNLS too. Go back to the time global warming wasn't a thing and the ocean wasn't filled with plastic, and tell people that they shouldn't litter so the future could be a better place. If everyone has the same ability to travel about all willy-nilly, then wouldn't it stand to reason that the things one person wanted to go back and change wouldn't be the same, because other people are also changing things throughout history leading up to the event you yourself wanted to witness/change? Go back to today and give myself some spoilers. Fuck my MILF neighbor while she was still in prime cougar age territory. Saw her again a year and a half ago and she's no longer a MILF, sad face. Edit. I guess I'd talk to younger me and give him some advice, acting like an older brother to myself. And I'd also insist we keep my pet cat at home on Chinese New Year in 2012 so that way he doesn't go missing. Make a giant time conspiracy, John Titor style but more elaborate. I would find my way into several historical photos wearing clothes from the far future. I would make stone carvings thousands of years before humanity evolved of a time traveler logo or crest that I made up. I would put this crest everywhere: pyramids, Gontija temples, Stonehenge. I would go over and rule civilizations faking as one of their people like I was Kong the Conqueror but less evil. I would bring modern technology into the past, like far past, a million-year-old submarine found in a cave. Huh, that's cool. I would make crop circles with my crest on. I would take to the internet to form clues and would predict future events. See if there's a cure for cancer. See how my parents met and proposed. Get A's on all my history projects and papers. Go back to October 2017 and actually stop to see my grandmother before she died. I had a chance to but went home cause I was tired. Very next day was normal, then got a phone call that she was rushed to the hospital and wasn't going to make it. Kicked the shit out of my 3rd grade bully. He was big then but I can now fuck him up. Catch my 3-year-old's cancer in time to do minimal treatment and save his life. Others have pointed out that if we can do whatever then it means nothing will change anyways. So my initial answer of telling myself not to talk to her and just forget about her so you don't live in pain for the next 10 years straight won't matter. Especially when she dies and leaves you realizing you may not ever get over her. So my second thought would be along the lines of some sort of huge world event. Just to be there and witness it firsthand. Dinosaurs are always a good choice as well. But I assume if time travel becomes a thing then the reality of a true Jurassic Park would be possible. So that would be amazing. I would go to a galaxy far far away, a long time ago. I would go back and give people advice on random things. An example would buy my future self to not do dumb-ass things like light rugs on fire. No rules, huh? I hope that other comment about not being able to actually change anything is wrong. I'd go back to see myself in high school. Straight up I'll say I'm him from the future and even prove it by telling him something only he/I would know at the time. I would then tell myself to stop wasting his time trying to make a certain girl his girlfriend. It's not ever gonna work. I would tell him to get his head out his butt and realize he likes a certain other girl who is genuinely nice to him. I would tell him to not just outright claim she is his girlfriend, but to just ask to hang out during lunch and outside of school, as friends at first, and see if that leads anywhere. I would tell him to wait for an appropriate time to admit he finds a certain feature about her kinda cute. I won't say the specific feature here, but I would tell him straight up what it is. I would tell him to take it slow and steady. It's not a race to make a home run, shall we say. He needs to grow up a bit, get a stable job and work toward a place to live with her first. Also I would tell him to stop making himself such an easy target for bullies by getting so worked up over every little thing they say. They're just idiots and he's better than that. Hopefully that should set him right for the rest of high school and beyond. I'd either go back to when I was younger and sign up for either dance or gymnastics, or I'd go back to a little while after that and stay in my MMA class. I'd have liked to stay in an activity to keep me busy and in shape, and maybe my body dysmorphia wouldn't be so intense sometimes. Figure out exactly what the fuck the Roman Catholic Church is hiding in their archives. Fuck Marilyn Monroe. I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. Watch historical events. Pearl Harbor, French Revolution, Boston Massacre, etc. Give Elagabalus a vagina. Destroy the machine and make sure the people who invented it are gone. Time travel is dangerous and definitely not to be handed out to some nobody like me. Invent time traveling in 2019, sell it to Elon Musk, become billionaire, keep a copy for myself, travel time with high-tech Elon Musk flamethrowers. Probably go back to now, and tell myself to not be lazy and to actually do something with my life. I'd go back in time to spend one more day with my loved ones who have passed, to hug them, to tell them just how special they really are, and to make them smile one more time. Invest as much money as I can in Apple in the early startup days. I would post the Jolly Rancher story a day before the original post and farm all the delicious karma. I just want to go buy all the toys I missed out on. Make my mom and dad break up before they had sex so I could never get born. I'd go back to see my grandparents on my dad's side of the family. My grandpa on my dad's side passed before I was born, and my dad's grandma passed away a few years ago before I got a chance to meet her grown up. I'd also go and visit 3 relatives of mine who passed away in an accident. Go to December 20th, 2050 and kill the person/people who were about to discover and reveal time travel. People are fucking shit up enough in the present as is. Swap the condom my dad used with one that doesn't have a fucking hole in it. On a serious note though, I'd probably just go around seeing what the past looked like. Fuck all my crushes. Travel to December 20th, 2050. Invent time travel a day before those pretenders. I would go back in time and prevent you from submitting the run-on sentence in your title. Phil. Don't hit submit yet. Commas are our friends. They don't deserve this abuse. I'm incredibly boring. That's pretty much all the excitement I need. Go back to the primordial stew and jerk off into it. Hand my dad a condom or tell him to hurry the fuck up with cheating so they get divorced earlier and I wouldn't exist. Fix global warming by sucking up the excess greenhouse gases with technology we hopefully have in 2050. A lot of people would say kill Hitler, but I wouldn't. I would raise him right. For those who don't know, Hitler was abused from an early age. He wanted to be a painter but his parents didn't want him to. If he would have been raised right and good, history would be very different. Go back to 2019 and post an AskReddit thread to figure out what I want to do. Go back and talk to my dad so I can get to know him more. Also tell my past self to stop procrastinating. I wouldn't want to actually mess with anything, butterfly effect and all that, but there is so much I'd want to go back and just watch like a voyeur. For instance, in 1908 there was a New York to Paris car race that was supposed to cross the Bering Strait because they thought it froze over in winter. Seeing their faces when they realized it didn't would be magic. Plus basically ever dollop topic to go see all the ridiculous stuff of history. I probably went to see all the prophets mentioned on Quran and Bible. With Christmas only 4 days away, I'd use the time machine over and over again to have enough time to deliver presents to every boy and girl on the planet. The big arguments with family members where I knew I went too far. Words pierce more than anything. Commit a war crime. You said there were no rules and WW3 is coming. January 5th, 2019. Stop my dad taking my poor dog Molly to the golf course where she ended up falling off a wall and died 2 days later. It isn't his fault and I remember him crying that night on the 7th, blaming himself. I wish I had never gone out with my friends, I would have been able to stop her. I miss you baby. Me and the lads are gonna do some feudalism. I'd steal the sub I ate yesterday. Go back and make sure Mary doesn't bang the carpenter's apprentice when Joseph goes to market. I'd go back in time and kill the people who made the time machine. Avoid working for a shithead boss. Find out what actually happened to Harold Holt, and other such mysteries I guess. Travel to 2100, make money, go back to 2050 and be rich. Go back in time? PSHH I'd go forward, take the technology from then back to now, recreate it, sell it, and become a millionaire. I'd go back in time with some relevant currency and open a savings account and put a couple $100 in it. Then I'd go back to the future and pull out my several billion in savings that's been building up since like 1750. I am 100 years old, I ain't doing shit. Where was this time travel thingy when I needed it? Go back to Stone Age and leave some plastic.